FBI says suspect in California blast targeted fertility clinic. You know, where you're so pro-life that you blow people up. Although it is a fertility clinic, so I don't know what goes on here. I went to a fertility clinic. That's how both my children were born. But let's see what else this place does. A man accused of setting off a car blast outside a fertility clinic in Palm Springs, California, is said to be a 25-year-old with nihilistic ideation. So, in other words, a 25-year-old. That second part was redundant. Guy Edwards Barkus, who is thought to have died in the blast, left behind writings which suggest he disapproved of people being brought into the world against their will. There it fucking is. There it is. The fucking, what they call the game, the anti-natalists. That's what they are. See when the birth of my kids get announced, they all appeared in my mentions, the anti-natalists and all that. You can't bring people into the world without their permission, which is the cringest thing. All right, whatever. The human race will just die out entirely. The whole thing will die out entirely. You know, hundreds of thousands of years of human history and development, and empires and kings and stories and tales and heroes and legends and great achievements and triumphing over adverse consequences and all this stuff. Every single great human achievement should all just be whittled away and cast into the cosmos because you're a little fucking emo. Right, I fucking hate the anti-natalists, man. It's like, anti-natalists, right? I'm not going to say this on a YouTube video, but you all know what your ideology leads to for you, doesn't it? I mean, don't do that, but, I mean, if you're anti-life, that only leads one place, the same place as Heaven's Gate and Jonestown and the Solar Cult and all those other people. Don't do that. Do not do that, but still, it's just weird advocacy. I'm miserable, therefore people are banned. Banned from life. Like, it's just, honestly, it's a stupid ideology. He detonated explosives outside the clinic on Saturday morning and tried to live stream the attack, said investigators. 4 other people were injured in the explosion and have been released from hospital. None of the wounded are staff or patients at the clinic. Now, I saw fertility clinic because sometimes in America it's a little bit of a misnomer because they also do abortions. And I thought we were going back to the classic 80s and 90s Christian fundamentalists bombing these clinics, but no, it turns out it's the anti-natalists instead. The subject had nihilistic ideations, and this was a targeted attack, said Akil Davis, assistant director in charge of the FBI's Los Angeles field office. The FBI is reviewing a manifesto that they believe is linked to Barkus, who lived at 29 Palms, home to a large Marine base. He loaded his 2010 silver Ford Fusion, I mean, no wonder he was nihilistic, sedan with explosives before driving an hour from 29 Palms to Palm Springs, investigators said. His father told CBS News Los Angeles that he had not spoken to his son in more than 10 years and that he had just changed after moving to 29 Palms. Mr. Davis said the FBI is still looking for the public's help to piece together the suspect's whereabouts before the blast and will remain on scene for the next day or two to continue their investigation. There he is there. The blast was felt more than a mile away. Mr. Davis referred to it as the largest bombing scene the FBI had seen in Southern California in recent memory, and said police are working to survey evidence that is scattered 100 feet away from the explosion in every direction. Several buildings were damaged in the blast, including the ACR fertility clinic, which images show a portion of its wall destroyed. The fertility clinic said their lab, including all eggs and embryos, remain fully secure and undamaged. That's great. That's really, really good. That's excellent then. But Dr. Mar Abdallah, who runs the clinic, told the Associated Press that the clinic's office was damaged. I really have no clue what happened, he said. Thank God today happened to be a day that we have no patients. Yeah, that's good. According to its website, the ARC Clinic is the first full-service fertility centre and IVF lab in the Coachella Valley. It offers services including fertility evaluations, IVF, egg donation and freezing, reproductive support for same-sex couples, and surrogacy. Now, it's no secret that in order for my 2 children to be born, we had to do IVF. And it was just a case of a fault, not with me. Just want to make sure. Where basically the eggs, best way to put it, is the eggs needed a little taxi. That's all it was. So basically, it's still fully our children. The eggs just needed a little taxi to the uterus, which is fine. And everything. So I've got my 2 kids who are IVF babies, and the weird thing is they both look exactly like me, and it scares a lot of people how similar that we look and all that. But Fertility, I think, is a good thing. And I know a lot of people disagree with it. No, children should be born the natural way. Well, some people can't have children the natural way due to genetic issues or just something that's wrong with their reproductive system. And even though it is possible for them to carry children, just there's an issue that's preventing it from happening. And I think it's wonderful when children breed. When children breed, hold the fucking phone. I think it's wonderful when people breed and have children. That's what I meant to fucking say. Libertarianism, not even once. I'm kidding on, but basically, I think it's good when people have children and they have families. I think families are a great thing. I think it's wonderful for people to have children. Having children was the greatest thing that I've ever done, and I love my children very, very much. And it alters who you are as a person. Basically, you cannot be a selfish prick anymore. It's not all about you now, it's all about them. Which is why everything that I do and all the work that I'm doing, I'm stowing away all the money and stocks and shares and property and absolutely everything, and then I'm going to do a little bit of technical woo woo fuckery so that my children inherit the lot when I pop my clogs. Because basically, I grew up pretty fucking poor. I grew up really fucking poor. I remember a time when I was younger and we had to, my mum, my dad, me, my mum, my dad had to sleep on my grandfather's floor because we didn't have a house and everything. So I want to make sure that my children never have to go through that and they grow up with as privileged an upbringing as I can give them, but they will still understand the value of hard work and they will understand that money doesn't just grow on trees. And if there are things you want, then you have to work to get them. Right? That's definitely what I'm going to be doing when I raise my children. But uh, anti-natalists are just idiots, though. I don't understand. I don't understand the ideology. Basically, yeah, I get some people have sad lives. I get some people just have miserable lives. Now, for a lot of people, it's their own doing. I've had friends like that, and I've been in relationships with people like that where they have so much misery in their lives, and then the more and more you peel back the layers, you realize that they're causing their own misery. And even when you're like, here are like 30 different solutions that could fix all of the problems that you're going through, and they're like, no, 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 no. And it's just excuses, excuses. That's when it's at the point where it's like, right, you want the sadness, right? And those people I just cut off. I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't be dealing with your bleating when it could be so easily solved. However, some people are in very, very shitty situations that there's genuinely fucking nothing that they can do about it. However, sadness is not forever. It eventually changes. I went through a very, very sad time. Right now, I'm going through a pretty fucking great time. If I'm being honest, actually, I'm much, much, much better now. Still stressed, but I'm doing much better now. However, the anti-natalist basically saying because I'm sad, no one's allowed to be alive, acting like there isn't any actual joy or happiness or anything like that in the world. Yeah, okay, there's a lot of fucking terrible, awful things. There's war, there's famine, there's rape, there's murder, and blah blah blah. But there's lots of wonderful things as well. Because news doesn't exactly report on happy stuff. The newspapers don't fill their headlines with wonderful, joyous things that make you happy, right? They want you sad and scared and afraid, which is why everybody thinks the world is so fucking terrible. And yeah, there's a lot of terrible shit going on in the world, but there's a lot of amazing things as well, right? For example, like just the other day, I was out in the back garden with the paddling pool with my kids, right? And Morag dead shite in the paddling pool and paddling time was over, right? But that was a wonderful, magical time. I wouldn't trade that for anything, right? And I'm definitely not going to have a bunch of anti-natalists telling me that my children weren't allowed to be born because we all had a fucking great time sitting there playing in the paddling pool, right? I want to have happy, fun memories like that with my children. Right now, I get that anti-natalists out there. Yeah, you probably had a horrible upbringing. You probably had horrible parents. You probably grew up in the foster system. And as someone who came from a family where his mum and dad fostered, right? Usually the problem isn't with the foster parents. Sometimes it is, but usually the problem's with social work. I even bumped into two fans of mine on the train not so long ago, and it turns out they were both foster children. And because I know a lot about the system, I went, "What do you two think is social work?" And their faces just dropped into skulls. They I have no further comments to provide on the way social work conduct themselves when it comes to fostering. But if anyone's a foster kid, uh, you know what? Just look at the comments. There'll be some of them in there. I don't have to tell you, they will. But still, antinatalists, I don't understand your ideology. I don't understand that just because you're not happy, no one else gets to be. No one else gets to come into life. Yeah, you're going to come into life and you're going to experience bad shit. Tough titty, suck it up, buttercup. That's the way the world is. Nobody owes you a single thing. But like just because things are bad for you right now doesn't mean that nobody should get to experience life. And this guy's just like killed himself and blew up a clinic and potential and killed like many potential babies. Like what? Because he felt a bit sad and nihilistic. I mean, fucking Just do it the old-fashioned way, garage, car, that little 2010 Ford you had, instead of, making it everybody else's fucking problem.